What has TKO done with the WWE? Because we have gingerbreads getting beat up by Sami Zayn and Trick Williams being all sad about it, and they're holding a funeral for the gingerbread man next week. But anyway, we need to review SmackDown for May 1st, 2026, so let's get into it. Our first segment on SmackDown was a Cody Rhodes promo where he was talking about how he is now medically cleared after he got that horrible black eye in the main event of WrestleMania 42 against Randy Orton. And he says, "What's next for Cody Rhodes?" And then all of the sudden, Ricky Saints comes out and interferes with this promo and immediately starts putting himself over and starts bragging about like he's the next big thing in WWE. And he says that he is going to fight Cody Rhodes and he was going to win, which no one believed him, I think, because he just got here. And that actually did set up a match, and Nick Aldis gave him his wish, and they got a match later tonight, which I will talk about later in this episode. And then for our first match of the night, we had JC Jane and Charlotte Flair. Now, this new faction with JC Jane and a bunch of other NXT new women stars, it's cool and all, but it's honestly feeling like a copy of Damage Control, which was a faction that Bayley had a couple years ago. And they feel like they're already on top of the women's division, even though they just got here. And I just been noticing there's just a lot of new stars. But anyway, JC Jane came out with the win against Charlotte Flair after there was a ton of interference with the other two members of the faction, and Alexa Bliss even got involved, which I'm just praying for her to get a push because it has been so long since she has gotten a title. Next up was a WWE Tag Team Championship match with Damian Priest and R-Truth, the champions, versus Axiom, and Nathan Frazer. Now, this match was pretty filler, and we knew obviously that Axiom wasn't going to get a push, and R-Truth and Damian Priest were going to keep the titles because the crowd loves R-Truth, and Damian Priest kind of just being like the equalizer is pretty funny. And Axiom really hasn't gotten much since the tag team whole debate, which had the Motor City Machine Guns and Axiom and a bunch of other tag teams, and the Motor City Machine Guns got cut. So totally dropped that storyline. And the winner of this match was Damian Priest and R-Truth, as expected, retaining their titles. Next up was the match that was secured at the start of the night, Ricky Saints versus Cody Rhodes. And if Ricky Saints thought he was beating Cody Rhodes, he was out of his mind because Cody Rhodes won, and pretty significantly. I'm not gonna lie, getting beat is not a good way to start off your career on the main roster. Next up was Royce Keys and Angel Garza. Obviously a filler / squash match because they're trying to give Royce Keys some love, but not really because they're just giving him people to destroy, which isn't really a good match. Again, I said it was filler. And obviously Royce Keys came out with the win against Angel Garza. And honestly, what have Angel and Berto done in the past year? Because it feels like I've seen Angel in at least 5 squash matches, with Oba and Royce. Another promo tonight that I almost left out was Danhausen and The Miz trying to decide if they want to team together, because The Miz said pretty convincingly that he wanted to be Danhausen's mentor, but then Kit Wilson came out and he was like, whoa, 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 no, no, no. Kit Wilson does not want The Miz to go with Danhausen because The Miz is Kit Wilson's mentor, so he didn't want him to betray him and go with the vampire guy. It ended up with a beatdown on Danhausen by Kit Wilson and The Miz, and Danhausen demanded for a match later in the show backstage, and Nick Aldis said it would be Kit Wilson and The Miz versus Danhausen and a tag team partner. So now Danhausen has to find this tag team partner, and we'll see who answers his request. Another match tonight was the Women's Tag Team Championship match with Paige and Brie Bella, the champions, versus the Irresistible Forces. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I thought that Paige and Brie Bella were gonna lose because they can't keep the titles on Paige because she's obviously gonna be part-time, unless she's back for real and wrestling for real, which I find that hard to believe. Paige and Brie Bella retained their titles, and Nia Jax and Lash Legend, uh, they were good for the 49 days that they were champions, but now it just feels like they're filling up the schedule. The last match of the night was the MFT Solo Sikoa and Tala Tonga versus the Usos. Yeet. And this match was pretty all around exciting, although the first 10 minutes was just Jimmy getting stomped on by Tala Tonga until Jay got tagged in and all the action started to ramp up. Now, this match ended without a winner, and it was because of Jacob Fatu interfering. Because Jacob Fatu has beef with both the Usos and the MFT now because he left the MFT because he got too big to be hidden behind a group. And then he's just never been a fan of the bloodline with Roman Reigns, especially, and then the Usos. But for their match at Backlash, I have a theory because I think that Roman Reigns is obviously going to retain. Like, there's no suspense there. And Jacob Fatu is going to do the whole if you can't beat him, join him kind of thing. And I think they're going to unite, and Jacob Fatu can be the new enforcer of the bloodline, replacing Solo's position in back when the OG bloodline still reigned. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Wrestling Fanatics, and I will see you guys next time.